Afternoon, colleagues. It's PT Mashiru here. I'm just doing a video about buying the dips. I'm taking advantage of the video I did earlier on Mercadora. Mercadora was in a dip zone in December 6th when I called this. But in my previous video, I did not explain how this was a dip zone and how one could have told it was a dip zone. I said it from a technical perspective that once this is grouped, you know you're in a dip zone. Once you see this grouping, once you see that grouping, you know you're in a dip zone. But I would like to start with a broader scheme where somebody would fully understand and be able to scan the whole magnitude of the stocks they want to look at. So this one was from the high there to the bottom of the 29th. It had fell about, it's not clear in this chart. Let me just keep dragging it down. Yes. From that top there down to the 19th, it was 49.94% roughly, the dip. So within the 52-week period or an annual period, it had lost 40% of its value. That's a serious drop of close to 50%. And how many people would have the guts to pick it from there and buy it as a dip? I just showed you on my previous chart, buying this dip, within 2 weeks, it had produced you 15% plus. That's a good return. That was a dip. So how do you scan for these stocks which have dropped 40% or more? That's where we are today. So I went into FinViz, ran a scan. What was that? Just go back and recreate this scan. First up, market cap, I want it to be larger than 10 billion. That's just my personal preference. I want to deal with large stocks. Somebody who wants mid cap can have a different view and scan range. I want them bigger than 10 million because primarily I want to use options and I want liquid ones. Next, as I was saying, option. I want to use option. They should be optionable. Those are the first two descriptives which I want to see in place. Then I went fundamental. I only did 3 items on the scan. I went to the 52-week high / low. I wanted in the 52-week high for this thing to be 40% or more below its previous high. 50% or more below the high. That's all I wanted. So it should have lost value to the tune of more than 40% within a year. Once I ran that scan, these are the top 20 stocks which came in. I did not bother to look at beyond 20 what was there. I ran my filter to start with the biggest stocks, and I got 20 of the biggest stocks, and for me it's more than enough. I could work on that. But if you wanted more, somebody who wants to play more on the mid-range of the stocks, you could go and look at this. Lots of stocks you can look at. Las Vegas Sands would interest me. Other than that, they really wouldn't. This one, yes, I might want to see. But most of these stocks, I haven't worked on them that much. I usually stay within the top 20 there. That's where my core skills are. And I get enough from that top 20. Just looking at this top 20, as I said in my previous video, Mercadora is the South American version of Alibaba in China. SE is they rank it with the electronic games and multimedia, but it is a fully fledged internet retail business with the same model as Alibaba, but for Southeast Asia. That C name there used to confuse me also. I thought it had something to do with the ocean. Now, Southeast Asia, same business model as Alibaba, same business model as Mel. So 1, 2, 3 in the same business model. Moderna is one of the companies which I wouldn't call. In fact, those 3, Alibaba, Sea, and Moderna, yes, they dropped. Did the business case collapse? No. China started having some fines and rectifying their business alignment with Alibaba, and Alibaba started falling. Being in the same business model, Southeast Asia business model started going down. By association, Mercador went down. It was not a business issue, it was a political issue which brought this down. Moderna, we still have the coronavirus with us and lots more viruses. It hasn't been doing much, but it's not a dead business. Sorry. It's not a dead business, yes. So automatically from this top 20, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stocks I'm very interested in, and their drop is nothing to do with the business model having changed significantly. It's just a cycle, depending on what influences that cycle, but it's a cyclical change in the business. It's not a permanent change as I see it. PDD is also similarly in that same business with the Alibaba. I haven't done thorough research on it to come and comment strongly on it, but I know its business model is not far from Alibaba. I always prefer to go Alibaba rather than PDD, but I know there's some people who prefer PDD on Alibaba. I like them big. Zoom, I wouldn't prefer that business. Snap, nope. Square, I'm not sure whether it's sustainable. Baidu, it's a payment mechanism and whatever, same as these global payments. They're in the same group, so you can tell that that sector was getting some hiding. Also, Activision business, as you can see, it's classified under electronic and gaming, same as C. It's also a cyclical issue from my interpretation of why it's down currently. Baidu is same business model as Alibaba and the other ones. Don't have problems with that. Coinbase, not aware of it that well. Dash, not aware of what they're doing there, and I don't have the time to go and research. Nino is the automotive / electronic business of producing cars. I think it's just cyclical. It's nothing that they're going out of business or really in that deep trouble. It's another one which I would really look closely at allocating some capital. Twitter has had a hiding, but I don't understand it. It's one way. If you are interested in it, you'll do your research. So there are lots of companies here which you'd do your bottom picking. But how many people will be confident enough to buy a stock which has lost more than 40%? That's where the issue of buy the dips always falls apart. If you don't have a strong conviction and you don't know what you're following, I follow the business model. If it's not significantly different or impacted, and I still believe in it, I'm good to go. Then I look at the technicals. So to illustrate this dip, I'll pick about 3 of these companies and look at, are they ticking the boxes for the dip? Yes, it can be a dip, but is the dip the right time to start buying, or is it still dipping further? Let me go visit my charts and look at C. There goes C. I'll put my interpretation as I go. They are all grouped there. So this is a dip. Stochastic is still pointing downwards. It's not turning up yet. No, that was RSI. Stochastic is still pointing downwards, not turning yet. This is still dipping. Yes, it's in a dip zone, but is it in a buy zone? There is no buy indication yet. Yes, it's in the bottom zone, but no buy indication at all. If this had turned above its white moving average and RSI had started turning upwards, then I'll call this a buy zone. For now, it's not. If I run a quick, where is this? There is a dip somewhere here. It's almost the same level as that one. So yes, C is approaching the buy zone, but still dipping. No buy confirmation has come up yet. So when somebody says buy the dip, yes, it's a dip. But is the dip a buy zone? No. Let me pick Moderna. Oops, no, not that. I call Moderna not applicable. Mr. Not applicable. So it's Mr. Not applicable. What is Mr. Not applicable saying? That was a dip and a buy zone. It went up, it came back a bit. Now we are all over the place. The dip was there. We bought it. Now it's struggling to confirm a buy. Yes, stochastic is showing the good moves. RSI is pointing upwards. They are all pointing upwards. Yes, this is a dip and a buy zone. The real dip was there. Now it went down a bit, but we're in the buy zone. I could deploy cash on this one with the idea it will go eventually up. We've hit our dip zone. We are looking at going up. We have all the signs of pointing upwards. So Moderna, yes, dip and buy zone. I'll pick another one. Let me go to the automotive and ATV. NOE, Nino. I'm just doing this on a fly. Just the principle is the key. It's not by recommendations or what. Has this dipped from that high to that low? How much did it lose? It looks like 58%, but I want to be clear. Yes, it lost the 58.1%. So it lost close to more than half of its value within a calendar year. 337 days. So it has lost more than half. 58%. I want to go back to where I was in the scaling of my chart. Remember, the purpose and intention of these videos is to show the dips and whether is it in the dip, and is the dip now a buy zone or it's just dipping only. Because there's a big difference. People say buy the dips, but why buy a dip if it's not yet in a buy zone? Here we are now. Is this a dip? Yes. All grouped below. Its RSI is below its 30 line. Stochastic is below its 30 line. All confirmed we're in a dip zone. Now, are we in a buy? Is the dip zone now turning to be a buy zone? RSI is not pointing anywhere upwards yet. Stochastic is about to move, but it's not above its moving average yet. I'll call this close to a buy zone, but until stochastic turns above its moving average, it's not yet a confirmed buy zone, but definitely it's a dip. Even visually looking at it, you can see that's dip, that was a dip, that was a dip. one can start running some FIBOs as I did on my previous video, which I won't do on this one, just to illustrate that. If you want to see how I would have run the FIBOs, you would look into my previous video and you'll understand. It's clearly illustrated there. Not much to show there on the FIBOs. I made a mistake there. That's another FIBO number there, but I won't go into those details. But yes, it's a dip there from that original big dip there. The next dip was here. You can see the 127 is very significant there. But yeah, it is what it is. But key message I'm taking away is that if you run a scan of those shares which have lost the most of their value, find out whether they're in the dip zone. The dip zone is usually easier to pick even using your RSI when it's below that, because you can tell from this chart there are very few occasions when it goes below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you want to match those dips with the dips in the stochastic. Then you know you have some significant ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then if you have the fortune of being able to have stock RSI, you know that this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those 5 places were the dips. Then you analyze and you put those in your watch list and find out when does that dip turn out to be a buy zone. It turns out to be a buy zone when stochastic goes above its moving average. Then you know you are now in a buy zone. Stochastic above its moving average, RSI turning above the 30 line, you know you are back into business of buying. That's all I wanted to illustrate in this video. Be careful when somebody says buy the dip. You need to qualify whether is it really a dip, 1. 2, is it still dipping or is it now in a buy zone? But I'll leave it at that. And I thank you, colleagues.